Okay, welcome everybody to Meatless Mexican Dishes or Cuisine. Can't quite remember what I named this one, but I love Mexican food. If you do too, this class is definitely for you. So especially if you're trying to eat a little bit more plant-based, I'm really excited to share recipes with you. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Emily. I'm the chef and coordinator here at New York-Presbyterian Hudson Valley Hospital's Teaching Kitchen. So pleased that you're here on this quite warm and sunny afternoon here in late August. And I know a lot of people are away by beaches and etc. So I'm so glad that you're here with me. So a few influences on Mexican cuisine, and we'll talk a little bit about flavor prints and ingredients. And then as always, we'll make some delicious, healthy recipes. So influences on Mexican cuisine, pre-Hispanic, there was Mayan culture, which food included things like deer and rabbit, even snake, iguanas, turtles, turkeys, lots of insects, lots of tropical fruits. Like this was all a very traditional part of pre-Hispanic cultural foods. Beans and corn have been consistent throughout. Pre-Columbian foods included things like chilies, chocolate, tomatoes, herbs, mushrooms. When the Spanish came around 1521, they brought things like rice, which we think of as very basic and part of Mexican cuisine. They brought things like beef and pork and chicken and wine. They brought dairy, they brought lard, they brought dried fruits and nuts and things like that. And then the French came around 1860 and they introduced baked goods. Of course, the French bring baked goods. What else would we bring? Baked goods and breads, as well as avocados and squash blossoms, I think. Other influences, Caribbean, South American, West African, Portuguese, Filipino, all of these influences have led to a really robust and flavorful Mexican cuisine. Some flavor prints and ingredients that you may think of when you think of Mexican food are things like corn and black beans and lentils, chickpeas, rice, of course, things like tomatillos, which we're going to be using today. If you've never seen a tomatillo before, this is what it looks like. Sort of like a hard green tomato. It's a little bit sticky and it has this papery husk. I'll talk about that. Cilantro, very wonderful, flavorful herb that I love and has great anti-inflammatory and potentially helps to escort heavy metals out of the body. So cilantro is a big part. Limes, of course, you can't have Mexican cuisine without limes. What else is in there? Some great spices, things like cumin, garlic powder we're going to be using today. So yeah, a lot of really bold and delicious flavors to enjoy. We're going to be cooking plant-based fajitas. We're going to be making that with peppers, onion, and corn. We're going to use 3 different types of peppers. You are all probably familiar with this one. There's so many different types of peppers to be had in Mexican cuisine. We're using fresh ones today. You may not be familiar with this one. This is a poblano pepper. It's a little spicy, but it's not very spicy. Actually, I'm going to give it a rinse because I'm noticing there's just a little bit of dirt around the stem. And then the third pepper I'm using here, you might be more familiar with this one. This is the jalapeno. So this one's a little bit hotter. Now, if you're not a fan of spicy, you can leave out the jalapeno, leave out the poblano. I am definitely a spice wimp. So feel free to leave those out and just increase the bell pepper if that's what you want to do. We're going to be using some portobello mushrooms. So when you get these from the store, they look like this, right? We're going to snap off the stems. I'm not going to use that. And then you want to make sure that they're clean. These are really dirty. So you can either quickly rinse them underwater with the cap facing up. So you kind of rinse them from this side down, or you can use a damp cloth and kind of give them a little like towel off, So those are two options for rinsing your portobello mushrooms. You don't want to rinse them with the gills facing up towards the water because all of that will absorb a lot of moisture. Mushrooms are like sponges. So you just want to rinse from the top and make it very, very quick. So you don't want to wait too long. See how quickly I did that, right? Just want to do it quickly so that you don't dilute their flavor. Once you start soaking mushrooms in water, they take on a lot of water. They're like sponges. So I'm going to start by heating up my pan. We're going to start by sauteing some onion, pepper, poblano, and jalapeno. I also had these really adorable little cute sweet peppers, so I thought I would use some of these as well. So as I'm chopping all of this up and putting it into the pan, do we have any questions?
Yes, there's a question.
Go ahead. Yeah.
There is a question. Is poblano a chile?
Poblano, I think it's a type of pepper. I'm not sure if it's a chili pepper. That's a good question, Alita. I'm going to leave that to you and Google to figure out.
All right, thanks. And then the other thing is that it sounds a little muffled. Sometimes it does a little bit, but it kind of comes and goes, so I don't know exactly what's going on.
All right, let me just check to see how the volume is. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, I turned it up, so hopefully it's okay now.
It sounds better. Yeah, it sounds better.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to go ahead and slice some of these peppers up. So you want them to be kind of like this nice little strip shape. I'm going to add some oil to the pan, and we're going to have two pans going for this. One is for the peppers and onions, and the other is going to be for the mushrooms. So why don't I get that hot as well? So the mushrooms are cooked separately. And the reason for that, hold on, I just want to make sure. Okay, onion. The reason for that is that mushrooms need a lot of space in order to brown nicely, and not because otherwise they steam, and you really want to get your mushrooms nicely browned, because the flavor of a brown mushroom is like just so much better than the flavor of a mushroom that's not been browned, in my opinion. So I have my own pan going there for the mushrooms. We're going to be using a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, the thing I never know how to say. I should not use that ingredient because I don't know how to say it, or I should just look up how to say it. And I'm going to, saute the mushrooms, and I'm going to add that sauce, and then we're going to cover them so they can soak up the sauce. They get really, really flavorful. I'm just slicing my onion pretty thinly here, and we're going to add it to the pan. So plant-based fajitas are really easy. Just adding lots of plants. And, you can customize it and make it based on, the kinds of veggies that you have growing in your garden. Maybe you've got some eggplant and you want to use that. Maybe you have some zucchini. That would be delicious. Saute that up and use that as well. So you can really customize it based on what you have growing. Does anyone have any thoughts on, what kind of veggies they might like to use in their plant-based fajitas? If anyone wants to try making this recipe, what do you think you might use? Any ideas? Put them in the chat and Alita will read them to me. Okay, I'm going to put in the onion. Start sauteing that. And I just have a little wooden spoon here to start moving these things around a bit. My pan happens to be a little warped. So I don't remember how that happened, but probably because it was hot and then I put cold water in it, so it got a little warped. But as a result, all the oil kind of like tips to one side, so I have to keep an eye on it, because otherwise it's all gonna end up on one side. All right, so I'm gonna just chop up these little mini peppers. We're gonna add them in. Again, these little mini ones are sweet. They're these little sweet peppers. You can usually buy them at the grocery store. I really like them. So peppers are loaded with vitamin C. They're great antioxidant-rich food. And yeah, they're just super bright and colorful and happy. I mean, it's just like, have you ever seen a more perfect red? It's like matches my apron. It's almost the same exact color. Or the orange, so vibrant. So again, integrating these vibrant foods that are so colorful into our meals, it's just a great way to make sure that you're getting antioxidants, and those antioxidants go into your body and they scavenge free radicals, and those free radicals get in there and they cause all kinds of problems of like inflammation, and can lead to different chronic diseases if they kind of set off the wrong cascade of events. So food is really, really important, because not only is it how we nourish ourselves, but it's also how we ensure that we maintain our health. So many of you are here for that. So we're cutting off the top of this bell pepper. This is how I work with a bell pepper. You can see where the seeds are connected to the mothership. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. And I usually just do this like this, but I'm going to turn my body so you can see. I disconnect using the tip of my knife. You want to make sure you don't go all the way through, right? Because you're on the other side. So turn it, disconnect, turn it, disconnect, 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 and you're there. Now you can go in, you can twist, you can pull, and you've got your cleaned pepper, you've got your seeds and your pith. If there's extra in there, you can just use your fingers to kind of pull it out, tease it out, knock out any extra seeds that got stuck to the bottom. Then you want to cut this in half. And I usually recommend putting things on a flat side when you cut them, but with peppers, the skin can be a little hard to cut through. So I like to turn them over and cut through the fleshy side. It's just a little bit easier to cut through, that's all. All right, so again, we're making strips. They're going in. Is anybody planning to make these fajitas? Is anyone thinking they might give it a try? Fajitas are so good. All right, and the top, we don't want to waste anything, so let's add that as well. Okay, so it's time for our spicy friends. Say hello to my spicy friends. I guess the poblano is not that spicy, but the jalapeno is a little hot. So I'm just sauteing that. I'm going to cut off the top. And the poblano usually has 2 spots where it connects to the mothership. 1, 2. I don't know where this mothership thing came from. Sometimes I question my own techniques. So in we go, twist, pull. You can do stuffed poblanos is really good. If anyone's ever done like a stuffed poblano with black beans and quinoa and corn and lots of spices, that's really nice too. So I'm going to cut this right in half. And same thing, I'm using the fleshy side to get. Now I'm going to cut the poblano a little bit smaller than the, excuse me, than the other one, because I don't want like too much poblano all in one bite. So I'm going to cut it into strips and then cut across into a dice. Kind of stack it up like a little pile of firewood and cut across. Touch your fingers, make sure those don't end up in your fajitas. Nobody wants to eat the tip of your thumb. Questions or comments?
So yes,
yeah, go ahead.
According to Google, the poblano is a mild chili pepper.
There you go. Okay.
And when dried, it's called an ancho or chili ancho.
Ah, okay, ancho or chili ancho. Cool.
And Donata had a question about, do you remove the seeds from the poblano or jalapeno? So you are removing the seeds from the poblano already.
Definitely.
And we'll remove them from the jalapeno.
Yeah, definitely, Donata. So yeah, I'm removing the seeds because the seeds are the spiciest part of most peppers. So the flesh is usually a little bit less spicy. If you like spice, if you want it hot and spicy and you really enjoy that like sweat dripping down your forehead while you're eating, some people love it. It's not for me. But if you're one of those people, leave a few seeds of the jalapeno in there and let them surprise you in your dish. You'll find that they've got quite the kick to them. So I'm just cutting up our portobello mushrooms. These are nice big portobello mushrooms. You can use shiitake for this as well. I'm going to put some oil in the other skillet that's back there and just start getting some heat on that too, right? So the portobello is really nice because for me, this is what helps me not miss the meat, right? When you've got portobello mushrooms in there, they have this really rich kind of meaty, chewy texture. And they have that, you know, that wonderful depth and umami that we get from meat. That's in mushrooms as well. So there's a type of molecule that's known as glutamate. And glutamate is found widely in different foods. But in mushrooms, it's pretty highly concentrated in mushrooms. So glutamate is what gives meat that kind of rich umami flavor. That's glutamate at work. So same thing with the mushrooms. They have that high source of glutamate. That's why they taste so meaty and delicious. All right, I'm a bit avoiding this jalapeno. I'm gonna go for it. So I'm gonna start by taking off the I just really have to remember to wash my hands well after class because I don't want to touch my eyes or anything else after working with this jalapeno. Same thing here. I'm going to tease out the seeds. It might be a little bit easier because the jalapeno is so small to use a smaller knife to get in there. Or you could go ahead and cut it in half, and then you can sort of see where the seeds are using the edge of your knife to kind of pull them out. It is a little bit easier to do this with a smaller knife, I think, but here we are with our big knife. I think I have a small knife over here somewhere. Don't I? Yes, here it is. A little paring knife helps you kind of have a bit more control with these smaller things. All right. These seeds really don't want to get out. No seeds, please. You're spicy enough. Okay. So just kind of using the tip of your knife to scrape out the seeds. Be careful when you're working with jalapeno that you don't, get too close to it, because as you're working with it, you might accidentally kind of, hit a jalapeno artery. And what does that mean? It's gonna like squirt and juice, jalapeno juice, and I don't want your face to be too close to it because you could get it in your eyes. So be careful when you're working with these hot peppers that, it's hard when we're working with something so small. We tend to want to get close to it, but not with these. All right, so I just pulled over the trash can. I'm not just scraping seeds onto the floor. This is my little diving board situation. Okay, and then I'm going to chop up the jalapeno nice and small for this one. I think I wrote thinly sliced. So you could leave it sliced if you wanted like bigger pieces of spice all at once. I kind of like to, integrate the spice a little more carefully into this dish. So we're going to slice it, and then we're going to create a little stack of firewood. We're going to chop right across, and you're on your way. So there is a little bit of chopping involved in this recipe, I will admit. A lot of peppers and onions going in. We're going to add some seasonings to this too. We're going to add a little bit of ground cumin seeds. So cumin, potato. We're going to add some garlic powder. And we're going to add a little bit of salt. Stir that all together so everything gets a little bump of flavor. Oh my gosh, this smells so good. Oh, I love it when you go to a restaurant and they serve you like the fajitas on a sizzling like cast iron pan. That's so much fun. But you can make them at home, make them at home, and it's usually healthier because you're using healthier cooking oils. It's also usually a little bit better for you because you're adding more vegetables. Let's face it, when we cook at home, we tend to add more veggies instead of, a lot of restaurants tend to rely heavily on cheap ingredients, things like rice and beans, how many of you have had a burrito and it's like 90% rice, right? That's because it's very inexpensive. So understandably. Okay, I'm gonna add a little pinch of salt to these mushrooms back here. So the mushrooms are funny because they do this thing where they absorb all of the oil that's in the pan. Remember, they're like tiny sponges. And it takes them a while before they start to release their liquid. So you just want to keep them kind of on a medium heat. And then we're going to add a little bit, like a tablespoon of the Worcestershire sauce. Questions or comments? What do we have going on, Alita?
So Donata also said that she would absolutely be making these fajitas.
Yay, Donata!
And she also commented that she had stuffed poblanos with bison when she was in Santa Fe. She said it was delicious, very mild taste.
Oh, so good. Yes. So I'm so glad you're going to give this recipe a try. Feel free to email me. Let me know how it went. And if you ever have any trouble with any of the recipes, feel free, connect with me. I'll help you troubleshoot it, help you understand, what went wrong in your kitchen, because I really want you to have the best possible, kind of results from our recipes here. So always feel free to connect. Okay, while that's wrapping up and it's almost there, I'm going to turn to the next page and get the tomatillo salsa into the oven. So I have the oven on. It is very, very hot. I got to put it on broil though. Okay, let's see. Last time it was on broil, had a little bit of a problem. So let's see how we do today. All right, so it's on broil. We're gonna use, again, I mentioned these tomatillos. So what on earth is a tomatillo? It looks like a tomato with a fancy coat. The tomatillo is, well, first of all, it's like a tomato. It's covered in this papery husk. When it's ripe, they turn green, or some varieties are purple or red. Those are really nice too. It's quite tart when it's picked young, and it's a bit hard. And it's sweeter when it's eaten later. They're very low calorie. They're very high in vitamin C. So if you're following along, you want to take the little fancy coat off. So you want to take the husks off. You can do that. They usually come off pretty easily, but of course this one is giving me a little bit of grief. Okay, there we go. You want to take those off because we're going to broil these. And what do you think is going to happen to this papery husk if we leave them on in the broiler? They're going to catch fire. So if you'll notice on this recipe, I have preheat the broiler to high, and then in a foil rimmed baking sheet. Many of you know that I don't like to use foil. I really prefer to use parchment paper, which is what's down here, because it's better for the environment. But when I'm broiling, I don't like to use parchment because I don't like to set my house on fire. Most days, I try not to. So we got rid of the papery exterior. They're very sticky, so I'm gonna rinse my hands. It comes off easily. All right, and then everything's just gonna get cut in half. We're gonna cut each one in half. Here's the foil rimmed baking sheet. Gotta set myself up for success here. Okay, so each one gets sliced in half, put on the baking sheet. And I don't think I specified face up or face down because I don't think it really matters for this recipe if I'm remembering correctly. So we're just gonna scatter them. We're gonna scatter in a cup of white onion, kind of peel that. I have a nice small onion here. You can use yellow onion. This is yellow onion. The white onion doesn't have as strong of a taste. It's kind of more neutral. But here you go. You're just going to cut it in half. Bottom and top comes off. Peel off the paper, and then we're just going to cut it into quarters. We're going to broil this too. So everything's going to get a deep char, and char is flavor. This onion is giving me a hard time. I'm going to have to take it over under the water. Sometimes when you can't peel the onion skins off, you can run it under water, and the water kind of helps to separate the skin from the onion, so it becomes a little bit easier. Oh, this half is cooperating a little bit more. Okay, so we're just going to cut that in half, quarter, and you're done. Onto the baking sheet. Questions while I work on the jalapeno that's going to go in there? We're just going to split it in half.
So yeah, there was there's a question about the tomatillo. Are green tomatillos the young ones and the red riper ones like peppers?
Yeah, so I think so. I'm pretty sure that the green ones, if you let them keep going, they might change colors, but I haven't, the one time that I grew tomatillos in the garden, they just stayed green. So it could be more like a different, some tomatoes are orange and some tomatoes are red. I think it could be more like that it's like a slightly different variety. Good question.
I've seen some turn yellow, purple, red, so it's.
Yeah, there's some really beautiful, colorful ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just coming back to our mushrooms over here, they have some nice browning happening. I'm going to add that tablespoon of magic sauce that I don't know the name of. And we're going to cover it and kind of let that steam up to finish. So again, this is going to add a rich, meaty flavor to what's already rich and meaty, our mushrooms. Okay, so back to our tomatillo salsa. We are on step 3. We have the tomatillos, the onion, the jalapeno, and a little pinch of salt. Can't forget those little pinches of salt. And we're just going to broil those. So we do want this to get charred, nice charred broiled. I don't know if anyone else is scared of their broiler. I'm definitely scared of my broiler. I'm also scared of my parents have a fireplace. I don't know. Something must have happened with fire and me because, well, here I am. I guess maybe not so bad, but but I definitely am a little nervous when I use the broiler stove. I'm a little on edge today. Maybe that's why. All right, we've got that in. We're gonna get that charred 6 to 10 minutes. And then we're gonna puree that in the blender with a little bit of cilantro. So the tomatillo salsa is so easy. And I feel like none of us really eat tomatillos all that much. And again, they're really high in vitamin C. They're very low calorie. And when you make your own salsas, you avoid a lot of preservatives, a lot of extra salt, a lot of colorings that are added to them. So try it out, see what you think, because it's really, the flavor is quite different than a regular salsa. Okay, questions or comments? I'm gonna come back to our fajitas.
Yeah, there's a comment from Donata. She says she uses coconut aminos instead of the Worcestershire sauce.
Donata, I love you. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so coconut aminos, great choice. They're gonna add a nice meatiness as well. So you feel free to do that. That's a great substitution for pretty much anything, anything that you would use soy sauce or Worcestershire sauce or any of that. I'm just scraping off the mushrooms. Got a little stuck here when I added that sauce. Okay, they go in with the veggies. I'm gonna do a switcheroo. And I just want to show you how beautiful and colorful this all is. I don't know if you can see that, right? See, look at the peppers. They've got that deep kind of caramelization. They're nice and soft. The onion is almost looks like spaghetti. It's so pretty. Okay, so this is going to be our fajita filling. Let's set this off to the side for a moment while we turn to our final recipe, which is elote. Elote is basically Mexican street corn. It's sold to a lot of places in Mexico. It's very flavorful because it has a lot of mayo on it, but we're not going to use that much mayo in my recipe. Excuse me. I try to mix it with a little bit of Greek yogurt, so it's a little bit healthier, and you still get that wonderful elote kind of experience. So the first thing we got to do is char our corn. So you can see everything I need for this recipe, right? This is how I prepare. You want to make sure you have everything that you need all in one place. Makes it a lot easier, especially if you're, working with teaching or something like that. You can everything is right where you need it. So with our corn, we're going to go ahead and peel the husks off. We're not going to be using those husks. You can kind of break the shank at the bottom. Okay, then you're left with all of these wonderful silks. Everybody loves those, right? You can just twist to help get those off. So give it, do the twist. I don't know. That's a song, right? There's got to be a twist song or two out there, right? Anybody? Any Beatles fans? Okay. So we're going to move all of that off because we're not using it. Although some people use the corn silks to make tea. They, just boil the corn silk and they make a tea with it and they drink it, and it's supposed to be helpful for digestive discomfort. I've never tried it, but could be interesting. So I'm going to place this corn right down in the pan, and I'm going to turn this heat up high because what am I doing? I'm actually going to char the corn on all sides. It's quick. Excuse me. Corn can be eaten raw or cooked, so you can have it either way. So you don't, need to make sure it's cooked all the way through. You just want to get the char and the flavor. Alita, I saw a question pop up. I just want to make sure I get to everybody today.
So Donata said that she uses the recipes all the time and saves all the information packets. They're wonderful. She also said that the twist is Chubby Checker, not the Beatles.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm thinking of Twist and Shout. Right?
Oh, okay.
I think that's the one with the twist song that I was thinking of. But yeah, the other song, I think I know what you're talking about, Donna. And I'm so glad that you enjoy all of our classes and all of our recipes. It comes from the heart. So I'm really glad that you enjoy it so much. Thank you. All right, so you just want to get your tongs ready and make sure that you turn them every so often so that they char. They're not really quite there yet. I'm being a little impatient here. So I'm just gonna let that sit and char. So meanwhile, you're gonna prepare your topping. like to do this in a dish where the corn can actually roll around in it. It's kind of easier. You're going to start with your mayo. So I'm only putting 1/3 of a cup, and try to find a mayo that's avocado based. What does that mean? It means that the oil in it is made with avocado. So it's a little bit of a healthier mayo because it's not using canola or soybean oil, which we're starting to learn is not really as good for us as we once thought. So the avocado oil is sort of the preference. We're going to use 1/2 cup of Greek yogurt, just kind of eyeballing this. And then this is a very traditional, wonderful cheese called cotija. And we're going to use about 1 cup of that cotija cheese. It's nice. It's a little bit of a lighter cheese. I think of it as like the Parmesan of Mexico. We're going to add some chili powder. So chili powder is not very spicy. We can add 2 tablespoons. And then we're going to add some of this garlic powder again. So this is going to be our little mixture. Oh, I see this corn is starting to, yes, there we go. We're getting that char. It's happening. So you can do this in a different pan, but the cast iron is great because it really retains a ton of heat. So it's kind of easy to get a good char with cast iron. Okay. Just going to turn this flame a little high. And let's check on our tomatillos in there. It's been about however many minutes it's been. It's been that many, I think 5 or 6. But oh yes, beautiful. Oh goodness. You can see everything has got a nice char to it, right? So let's set this to the side. This is done. You don't need to do more than that. Turn off the broiler. It's scaring me. And we're still all conquering our fears in the kitchen, you know, each and every one of us, no matter how experienced we are. Mix all of this together. Add a little bit of lime zest and juice. You can use a whisk to kind of get this mixture a little bit more integrated, but I kind of like to spread it on the bottom like this, so it'll be easy to pop the corn in and roll it, right? Any questions? I think I saw one. I'm going to do the lime zest.
No questions yet.
Okay. Great. Well, we're moving right along here. So we've got our tomatillo salsa. We're going to throw that in the blender. Then we're going to assemble our fajitas. Oh, I almost forgot. How can you have a wonderful Mexican cooking class without avocados? So, of course, we have 2 beautiful ripe avocados that I bought last week because I knew they weren't going to be ripe when I got them from the grocery store. C'est la vie. So you just want to make sure if you're working with avocados, you prepare accordingly, you get what you need ahead of time. I'll talk a little bit more about how to choose a ripe avocado. Some of you may have already heard the avocado bit before, but if you haven't, there are definitely ways to save and work with avocado that makes it a lot easier. All right, I'm going to cut this in half. I'm going to add our fresh lime juice. We're done. We're done. This is a very juicy one. Save some for the avocado. Oh, I can't forget the cilantro. Again, another flavor that you just cannot do without if you're cooking the Mexican food. So we have our mixture, our limey, salty, chili, garlicky, wonderful cotija cheesy mixture. I know it doesn't look like much, but I promise it's going to look amazing when it's done. Let's turn this. You can see it's starting to get some char marks. That's good. Takes a little while. Of course, I'm being a little impatient, perhaps, with this pork corn. Just let that be. We can work on our cilantro. So you'll notice with the cilantro, I wrap it in a wet paper towel. What do? I come home from the garden, the store, wherever I am. I run it under water, give it a little shower. Then I wrap it in a dry paper towel, and the paper towel absorbs the moisture from the leaves. So this is now damp, right, as a result. So I store herbs like this in a damp towel in the refrigerator for about a week before they start to kind of peter out. So you can see, right, the leaves are really what like to stay super kind of vibrant. And these are very, very, this is very stemmy cilantro. I'm gonna just pick the leaves a little bit. I usually don't really care that much about making sure I get the leaves off of the stems. If the stems are small, like if all of the stems were about this thick, I would just chop everything up. But some of these are really thick, so I'm just getting rid of those. Questions?
Yeah, so Judy has a question about charring the corn under the broiler.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Could you do that? Mm-hmm.
So could you char corn under the broiler instead of in a cast iron pan? Yes, you probably could. It would probably work out as well. Yeah, Judy, I didn't do it that way today, but you could. As you can tell from the tomatillos, the only thing about charring the corn under the broiler is that you have to turn the corn as you're working with it, because otherwise it's not going to char on all sides. And that's where this technique and advantage is a little bit better than just sticking it under the broiler, because you can keep kind of moving it around to make sure that it gets a little char on different sides. So I like doing it on the stovetop because you just have a little bit more control over where the char is going. Whereas on the broiler, it just might be in one spot. But yeah, I like your creativity. I like how you're thinking. Okay, we've got our cilantro. Let's chop some of this up. Hands flat on top of the knife. We're going to do a mince from the hip tip to the heel of the knife. You want to make sure that your knife is sharp when you're doing this. So I kind of chop across, and I use my knife to kind of fold everything back together. You don't want to scrape your knife on your cutting board too much. I do it all the time, but I really shouldn't. It dulls your knife over time. So this kind of thing dulls the knife. So unless you're sharpening your knife routinely, which I know most people are not, but it's a really good thing to do, you do want to try to make sure that you can use the back of your knife, use the spine so that it doesn't dull, right? There you go, chop cilantro. Okay, let's make our tomatillo salsa, and we're gonna make our wonderful avocado-based topping as well. So one of the reasons, I have to say, one of the advantages of working with tinfoil is it cools down very quickly. You can pick up tinfoil and pretty much work with it right out of the oven. So there are some advantages to getting everything in that blender. And then we're just gonna blend this. Remember, this has salt. This is our salt, our tomatillos, our onion, our jalapeno, nothing else. And that wonderful, wonderful char. Bring this forward so you can see a little bit better. I kind of like it that texture. I don't like it too smooth. Now we're gonna put it into a little saucepan, let it reduce for about 3 minutes, just to get it a little bit thicker. You could have it just like this, but I like it a little bit glossier, a little bit thicker. So I'm gonna pour the salsa into the saucepan, just cook it for about 3 to 5 minutes. It's kind of a two-step cooking process, but it's very easy, as you can see. It's not that complicated to make your own. Okay, is it time for avocados? I think it's time for avocados. So here they are, our beautifully ripened avocados. They're nice and soft when you press them. You pull out the top, they look okay. All right, well, we'll see how it looks a little bit brown. I don't like the look of that, but they feel good. So I'm gonna cut through the top, twist. A lot of twisting today. Oh, we got lucky. Here's a good one. At this point, a lot of people try to get the pit out with a knife. Don't do it that way. Squeeze with the holding hand and it'll come out, okay? Might not look beautiful, but it's definitely a lot safer than trying to, do that with a knife and pull that pit out, and then you end up, we have very wonderful hand surgeons here, but I don't want you to have to use them. So if it's not coming out when you squeeze it, you can see I kind of dug it out, it came out. Okay, you can easily, ooh, my salsa's bubbling, turn that down. You can easily peel avocado by cutting it into quarters now. And if the avocado is ripe, it should come right out of the peel, right? If it's not ripe, it might be a little bit harder. So again, face down, cutting that, pulling the peel away. So this is not luck, this is strategy. I bought the avocados last week. I let them sit out on the counter to ripen. When I noticed one of them was ripening really fast, I put it in the refrigerator so that it would take a little bit longer because I wasn't ready to use it for this class. So you can, whenever you buy avocados, you can kind of control how they ripen by exposing them to different temperatures. Ooh, our corn is very active right now, making lots of popping noises. Very excited to be turning into elote. Okay, this is pretty much done. I'll turn this off while I finish the avocado talk. Okay, so you come home from the store, you bought these beautiful avocados, they're not quite ripe yet. So here's what you do. If you want to ripen them very quickly, and I'm talking, 1 to 2 days, put them in a brown paper bag with a banana. With the banana, it's going to accelerate the ripening process because bananas emit a gas as they ripen. That's trapped in the brown paper bag, and the avocados ripen faster with that ripening gas. So that's number one. Number two is if you want it to ripen within 3 to 5 days, you can just put it in a brown paper bag, no banana. That might be faster depending on your level of ripeness of avocados. Option number three is just leave it out on the counter. Should ripen in about 5 to 7 days, depending again on how, I'm talking about like if you buy an avocado and it's hard and green, right? That's how long it'll take. And then option number four, if your avocados are just all ripening all at once and you're not ready to eat them, put them in the refrigerator. That will slow down the ripening process. So you can refrigerate them, kind of helps to slow it down. If you've missed your window, the avocado is ripe and you put it in the refrigerator and it's just too late, you can scoop the flesh out, press it into a Ziploc bag, really press out all the air. You want to make kind of like a vacuum seal. So you press out all the air and then you freeze it with no air exposed to it. It'll still stay pretty green. Another trick to help it stay very green is to add a little lime juice to that bag too. Okay, that's it for avocados, I promise. I'm very passionate about avocados because they're really, really good for you. They were on the bad list for so long, and I just feel like they never got the credit they deserved. So I like to include them and talk about them. Okay, I'm just chopping these up into kind of haphazard chunks. We're gonna add our avocados in with a little bit of garlic and cumin. Mix those together. Add the avocado in off the diving board, and we're going to add fresh lime juice to help keep it from browning. So fresh lime juice is going in here. And I think that's it. Do I add cilantro to this? Let me remember. Avocados, lime juice, cumin, garlic powder, salt and pepper to taste. You're done. You can, of course, add cilantro if you want. I won't say anything about it because it's so yummy. All right, so we're done with that. Gonna mix that all together. Let's add our salt. Okay. I feel like we need like a wonderful Mexican music today or something like really festive, right? Such a great cuisine. It's so easy to have plant-based Mexican food that's really flavorful. I feel like often some plant-based cuisines can just be a little bland. So you just want to make sure you're using lots of spices like we're doing today with the cumin and the garlic powder, lots of herbs, lots of acid, right? With that great lime juice that's in pretty much every recipe, right? So our time is up. Let's finish up here. We're going to finish up with our corn. We're going to assemble our fajitas. So with the corn, you just take it and you put it into this mixture. You can see how it got these really nice brown spots. They're not everywhere, but they're there enough. Kind of, that's a really good one to kind of make a difference in the flavor. I'm going to do 3 at a time because 4 don't fit. And then you just want to roll them in that wonderful, gorgeous, cheesy mixture. Just soak it all up. You might need to kind of get a spoon to help it along, but that's the idea, right? You can roll them up, pop them on a plate, and you've got this wonderful, super flavorful, very traditional Mexican street corn to try out, without having to go to Mexico, right? So that is a really fun thing to try to do with your nice August summer corn. Okay. Oh la la. Okay, there's almost no space for this fourth one, but we're gonna pile it on the plate because, you know, what is corn if not to be something to be piled up high and enjoyed by many? So there's our corn, elote. You can just finish that off with a little bit of fresh cilantro, right? You've got your own beautiful, cheesy, flavorful Mexican street corn. Okay, our tomatillo sauce is done. Let's build our fajitas. Now, with fajitas, you can, of course, use wonderful whole wheat tortillas. That's very traditional to use tortillas, corn or flour. If you are going with flour, try to find a whole wheat brand because you're going to get more fiber in with your dish. And everybody knows we all don't get enough fiber. So try to find a whole wheat brand. I wanted to introduce another idea. This is a little bit out there, but how many of you know what this is? Any guesses out there in our audience? Who can identify? You get bonus points. I don't know what you get, but you get some kind of bonus points. So it is the leaf of a specific kind of plant. Maybe you'll know the flower if I show it to you. Doo, doo, doo. All right, who knows this flower? Anyone?
So yeah, Christine says is an nasturtium.
Yes, you got it, Christine. Bravo. So it's a nasturtium, and a lot of people just eat the flowers, but I also want to encourage you to try the leaves. You can use them like a little taco base. It's a way to add something green. You can, of course, decorate it with the flowers as well. Get those nice spicy flowers in there. And then when you're ready to eat these, first of all, you can just enjoy how beautiful it looks. But then when you're ready to eat these, you just kind of fold them up. And it works kind of like a cabbage leaf, right? It adds a great flavor. You can, very low calorie. You can kind of enjoy it like a little taco or a little fajita. Okay, and then of course we have our little avocados that would go in here too. Our little tomatillo salsa that would go over this. And if you can use that tomatillo salsa, I mean, I use it over eggs for breakfast. So flavorful. It's really, really good. So I feel like I forgot cilantro on the fajitas. That's right. A little cilantro for garnish here. And flavor, of course. And then you can see, this is really nice, how this salsa kind of got a little glossy and thicker, right? So let me get a bowl for that so you can have a good look at what that looks like. And you're done. You're ready for your wonderful Mexican, meatless Mexican meal. I mean, look how wonderful this is. You know, you really aren't going to miss the meat with this one. You'll have lots and lots of flavor. Very, very satisfying meal. This is your salsa. You can put it on your fajitas. You can have it with your corn. You can have it with your eggs for breakfast. You can store it in the refrigerator for 5 to 7 days, even 7 days. I think it'd be fine for a full week. You know, keep it nice and cold in the fridge. Anytime you want to just bump up some flavor, you're making a salad, put some tomatillo salsa in the dressing. Try something a little bit different, see what you think. So that was a lot. I hope everybody's okay. Is everyone all right out there? Yeah? Okay. And you may have noticed that I didn't cook any rice or beans today. I wanted to give you something a little bit different. When most people think of plant-based Mexican, they just think of rice and beans. While that's very traditional and it's very delicious, it's also very easy. I wanted to give you something that's a little bit, yeah, just a little bit different with more flavor and just a little more exciting, that features nice, you know, garden produce. You can buy peppers locally this time of year. So thank you everybody for joining me. Questions or comments?
So there was just a question about the, was there oil in the cast iron when you did the corn? But it isn't on the recipe, right?
No oil.
And what could you do? What could you do with frozen avocados?
Frozen avocados, well, you could mash them up and make guacamole with them. Or if they don't have any, you know, if you just frozen them, I often put them in a smoothie. They make my smoothies like, it's almost like if you're making a fruit smoothie, it turns it into like a nice moussey texture. And I like to have smoothies out of a bowl. I pour my smoothie into a bowl, I sprinkle a little granola on top, and I eat it kind of like a nice, a nice kind of smoothie bowl. So you can put them in smoothies. You can, add them to your eggs. I guess I'm really craving eggs tonight. You can put them with your eggs. You can, any way that you would pretty much use avocado that you would, any recipe where you would have like a mushed up avocado. You can make like a chilled cucumber avocado yogurt kind of soup. Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. Yeah.
That's it.
All right, everybody. Woo! Well, I'm sweating. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you,
Come back
Chef.
tomorrow. We are moving away from all the hot oven cooking and stuff. We're doing cooling summer dishes. We're going to be making a raw zucchini lasagna. I have to use that word lightly because my husband, who's Italian, would probably not let me into the house if I called what we're making lasagna, but it has all the flavors. So we're going to be making that. We're going to be making a raw cashew strawberry lime cheesecake, which is to die for. It's so good. And we're making this really yummy sunflower seed and almond kind of dip. It's I really like it because I get tired of hummus, so this is a nice kind of alternative for that. You're going to need a food processor and a blender, and no fuego, no hot fires in that class. And then on Thursday, we have another class that is, oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Alita, what's our class on Thursday? Do you remember? I have it over here. Oh, Flavors of Spain. How could I forget? Flavors of España. Okay, we're going to all the Spanish-speaking places this week, I guess. So Flavors of Spain, we're going to be making a seafood paella. If you've never made paella before, it is a great opportunity to learn how to make this kind of one dish thing. And of course, how can you have Flavors of Spain without gazpacho? I'm going to be using a surprise ingredient, which you'll only find out if you come to the class. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you, Alita, for moderating, and buen provecho. Bon appetit.
Thank you, likewise.